The morning sun washed the small town of Silverwood in a soft golden glow, but inside 34-year-old single dad Arlen Foster, the day felt heavy. He stood beside his old pickup truck outside his tiny rental house, staring at his reflection in the dusty window, wondering how life had brought him here, heartbroken, tired, and heading toward a blind date. He didn't even want the invitation had come from his pushy co-worker who insisted he needed to live again. But all Arlen felt was dread. His heart had been shattered once, and he had long ago given up believing he'd ever meet someone who could truly understand his scars. As he locked the house and walked toward his truck, he knew this was just one more attempt to pretend he was okay. But today, life was about to twist in a way he could never have imagined, beginning with a sound that froze him in place, a desperate cry for help echoing from the roadside ahead. If you believe in kindness, fate, and second chances, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Stories of Kindness to support more heart-touching stories like this. Your support keeps the storytelling alive. Arlen turned and saw a car pull to the shoulder, smoke curling gently from beneath the hood. A woman stood beside it, waving both arms, panic visible, even from a distance. He sighed softly, already running late for a date he didn't want, but something inside him couldn't drive past someone in trouble he had been raised to help, even when life gave little in return. So he pulled over, stepped out, and jogged toward her. She looked relieved the moment their eyes met. Her name, she introduced quickly, was Kalina Miles, and she looked every bit as stressed as her failing engine, dressed neatly in soft beige and teal. She had the kind of face that carried both strength and sadness. She apologized breathlessly for stopping him, explaining she was trying to get to a cafe for a meeting. Arlen told her not to worry and popped the hood, immediately recognizing a blown radiator hose. It wasn't an easy fix, but it was fixable manually. As he knelt under the hot sun, tools spread around him, Kalina watched quietly. After a while, she began telling him about how rough her morning had been, missing her alarm, dropping her phone, and now this. Her voice carried tiredness but also warmth. She made him laugh once, and even that surprised him. He hadn't laughed with a stranger in years. It took nearly 40 minutes to get her car running, and by then Arlen's shirt was damp with sweat and his hands were streaked with grease. Kalina insisted on thanking him with at least a cold drink, but he gently refused, saying he was already late somewhere. She smiled, a little disappointed, but grateful, and promised she'd remember his kindness. And then they parted, two strangers, unaware that fate had just intertwined their paths more tightly than either imagined. When Arlen finally reached the cafe for his blind date, he felt even more reluctant than before. He didn't want romance. He didn't want to reopen old wounds. He just wanted to get through the day and return home to his daughter, 9-year-old Mira, the only bright constant in his life, pushing the cafe door open. He ordered water and sat alone, checking his watch and wondering when this awkward meeting would end. Then the door chimed, and Kalina walked in. His heart dropped. Her eyes widened. She clutched her purse, frozen in surprise. The realization hit them at the same time. It was the blind date he had dreaded, and he was the person she had hurried to meet when her car broke down. Neither spoke for a long moment, but then slowly Kalina approached, a soft laugh slipping from her lips as she sat down opposite him. "Well," she whispered, "looks like fate has a strange sense of humor." Arlen couldn't help but agree. What started awkwardly soon shifted into something unexpectedly comfortable. They really talked about life, careers, disappointments, and the battles they both had fought alone. Arlen shared how he raised Mira after losing her mother to illness 5 years earlier, and how hard it had been to stay strong for his daughter while feeling lost inside. Kalina shared how she had moved to Silverwood after escaping a toxic engagement, leaving behind a life that looked perfect from the outside but was full of control and emotional wounds. She confessed she hadn't been on a date in 2 years, still afraid of trusting the wrong person again. Their stories mirrored each other's pain, and yet something about the moment felt gentle, healing. The sun outside cast soft light across the table as they sat facing each other, and Arlen felt his dread begin to dissolve for the first time in a long time. He felt understood. Kalina was warm, thoughtful, and stronger than she realized. She didn't pity him. She didn't judge him. She simply listened, and he listened to her. The date stretched on longer than either expected. They walked through the nearby park, the gentle breeze stirring the leaves, while families picnicked on the grass. Arlen found himself smiling, easily talking without holding back. Kalina seemed surprised by how safe she felt beside him, how natural their conversations flowed, as if they had known each other for years. The weight in both their chests felt lighter. Still, fear lingered for both of them. Arlen worried that he was misreading everything he feared. Attachment, feared disappointment. Could someone like her truly fit into his world, a world filled with responsibilities, small joys and bittersweet memories? Kalina feared letting her guard down again. She wasn't sure she even deserved a second chance after wasting so much of her life in someone else's shadow. But fate wasn't done shifting their lives. As the afternoon light began turning soft and golden, Arlen's phone rang. It was the school informing him that Mira wasn't feeling well. The concern in his eyes made Kalina instantly offer to go with him. He tried refusing, but she insisted. Something about her presence felt comforting, and he accepted. When they arrived at the school, Mira was sitting on a bench looking pale. But the moment she saw Kalina, something remarkable happened. A shy smile formed on the girl's lips. Kalina knelt and spoke gently to her, brushing a few strands of hair behind her ear. Mira leaned against her almost instantly, as if drawn to her kindness. Arlen watched silently, his breath catching in his throat. In that small moment, something shifted deep inside him. Over the next few days, Arlen and Kalina exchanged messages, first casually, then warmly, then with growing affection. Kalina checked on Mira, repeatedly bringing soup, drawing little doodles to cheer her up, even helping with school projects. The bond between Mira and Kalina grew faster than either adult expected. Arlen felt himself falling, not only for Kalina, but also for the way she gently stepped into his world without forcing herself in. But fear returned when Kalina received a phone call one afternoon from her ex-fiancé, demanding she return to their city and stop pretending she could start over. His voice shook her confidence. She felt suffocated all over again, terrified he would show up and ruin her new peace. Arlen found her crying outside her house, her hands trembling, and without thinking, he wrapped her in a protective embrace. It was soft, steady, and full of warmth she desperately needed. He told her she wasn't going back, not to fear, not to pain, not to someone who never valued her. He told her she had every right to build a life that didn't revolve around someone else's expectations. Kalina cried harder, not out of sadness but relief, and for the first time in years, she felt truly safe. Weeks passed, and the connection between them grew root-deep, strong, undeniable. They went for walks, shared meals, watched Mira's school events together. Kalina filled their quiet home with laughter again, and Mira, blooming with joy around her, showed Arlen what his heart had been craving all along: not perfection, but companionship, tenderness, and understanding. Still, one fear remained tucked deep inside Arlen, the fear that Kalina might one day wake up and realize he wasn't enough. He carried emotional scars, financial struggles, responsibilities. Would she eventually feel burdened? That fear nearly made him pull away, but fate wasn't done teaching him. One sunny afternoon, Mira handed him a drawing. She made it showed three people holding hands: Arlen, Mira, and Kalina, with a big sun above them, and the words "my new family" scribbled below. Arlen's eyes filled with tears. The drawing shattered every wall he had left. It showed him that love didn't need perfection. It needed presence, trust and courage. That evening, Arlen drove to Kalina's house with the drawing and tears he didn't bother hiding. He told her everything, his fears, his doubts, his insecurities. He expected her to hesitate, but she didn't. She took his hands, looked straight into his eyes, and told him she wasn't looking for perfection. She was looking for peace, for kindness, for a place where she could finally feel wanted. And she had found that with him and Mira, under the warm orange glow of sunset. They held each other tightly, knowing life had finally given them the second chance they both prayed for but never expected. And it had all started with a broken car on a random day. As they stood there, Kalina whispered that she believed fate had brought them together exactly when they needed it. Most Arlen nodded, finally letting his heart accept what it had been. Fighting it didn't have to fear love anymore. Not with her. Their story was proof that sometimes the moments we dread lead us to the people we need the most.